Very good. And now for our closer, come on up. We got Reverend Gregory.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. So we've had all these great speakers and all this great science. So I'm the other side. So I know we have to get out of here. We want to have some Q&A. And so I promise you I will not be long, all right? Only until I'm finished. All right. Representative Moreland, I want to thank you for providing this platform and also for your courage in stepping up in Springfield and saying, yes. Because if you're from Chicago or the state of Illinois, you know that Springfield is no joke. Well, let me bring the other side here, and I'll begin like this. You know, I spent some time on an Apache reservation in San Carlos, Arizona. Even though it is illegal to have alcohol on the reservation, 50% of the children are born with fetal alcohol syndrome, and 80% of the residents are alcoholic. Alcohol/firewater was weaponized, used as an instrument of genocide against the Apache people and other Native Americans, even before the time of the Apache freedom fighter, Geronimo, for one reason only, the land. The legalization of recreational marijuana is in truth the weaponization of marijuana. Weed is to be immorally marketed in challenged and disadvantaged communities for one reason only, profit. And the people be damned on hopped up super weed. Governor Pritzker, legalizing or taking over an already decriminalized, illegitimate, but lucrative drug market is a gangster move worthy of Al Capone. Sadly, this seems to be an instance of big business and Al Capone being two sides of the same coin. We get high and the oligarchs get paid. The Pritzker family has funded and owns part of a marijuana company with a $38 billion valuation, as well as owning the two largest vaping companies in America. Mr. Pritzker, please know that the smell of recreational weed cannot cover up the smell of all the new money that your family and business cronies cannot wait to pocket. It is a reasonably safe assumption, JB, that the voters of Illinois elected you because many felt that the socio-political and economic oxygen which we all breathe was being sucked out of our great state and we were dying. But you promised us that we could breathe again. We said JB stands for just breathe. JB, you don't have to be the gangster drug dealer who corners the weed market. Instead, generate revenue by raising existing vice taxes, not by adding new vices to tax. However, if you're intent on weaponizing marijuana, I must conclude that JB no longer stands for just breathe, but now it stands for just blunts. Hear me now. Black addiction is a hustle. JB, just say no to weed money. And let me just say this. I'm in Chicago, but I get around quite a bit. I've had a lot of black business people, minority business folk, who are saying this is an opportunity for us to make money. And one of the things that I go back to is prohibition. And Al Capone didn't go to jail for prison for selling liquor. He went to jail because he wasn't paying taxes with all that money he was making. Can I get an amen, somebody? And so it was seen that he was making a lot of money. So they said, we need to take over that business. And I tell them, They did not end prohibition so that minority business owners could have an opportunity. It was done so the oligarchs can make money. And I tell my friends, show me the black oligarchs that have the infrastructure to have a company with a $38 billion valuation. Zero. All we got out of liquor was some packaged liquor stores on the corner and a couple of distributorships. And this thing now, you know, big tobacco, right? The tobacco that the Native Americans smoked is not like the tobacco that they used when they made cigarettes. It's very different, very different. And by the same token, this weed is hopped up, y'all. This is super weed. Why raise the potency? Because we want the consumer to have a better high? There is no narco-altruism here. It is about money. If I can raise the potency on the marijuana, that means that you're going to want more and more of it, and I make more money. And here's the deal, everybody, on all these dispensaries. I had a friend of mine that sold a company to Google for $1.02 billion, right? And so he was trying to sell another company for $5 billion. He had a buddy that owned methadone clinics. And he was converting his methadone clinics into dispensaries. Why? Because it's like Amway. You only make money if you get in at the beginning. Because in the same way we used to have tobacco shops all around, when big tobacco moved in, they priced out those tobacco shops. They couldn't exist. And if you got a dispensary now, you better make all the money you can, because when big marijuana starts rolling their own weed, and Altria is already talking about the pre-rolled marijuana. And here's the deal. You know, just a couple of weeks ago, I'm looking at this because y'all, it's all about the money, period. Altria, formerly Philip Morris, they showed you the cigarette tobacco sales have gone down. Well, the Juul, which Nicholas Pritzker, Joby Pritzker, you know, all this kind of stuff, and Nicholas Pritzker has the marijuana policy and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, so Juul has 1,500 employees. And this past summer, they had a lawsuit because they didn't want Juul affiliated with big tobacco. Well, a couple of weeks ago, Altria dropped $2 billion on the 1,500 employees. All the employees got $1.3 million. How would you like to be the janitor at Juul and you just got $1.3 million? And the same day, they dropped $12 billion for a stake in Juul, the e-cigarette vaping company. Now, it's about the money. This is looking to be a $1 trillion market. But everybody, it's backwards. It's backwards. Why are you talking about, and I like what me and Dr. Weiner were talking, he says, I'm hurting myself talking about this. I make money with more addicts, you know what I mean? Why would you talk about developing something that you know is going to be a problem down the road, right? I mean, McDonald's might as well start building gyms, man. Help me out, right? And then you get the ludicrous bro science, and they talked about, I'll talk about it my way, about this not being addictive. I had a young lady say, she said, but weed isn't addictive, Reverend. I said, greasy food is addictive, soda pop is addictive, chapstick is addictive. And every addiction has its consequence. You eat too much food, what happens? You get fat. You drink too much pop, what happens?
Yeah, I have your attention, please.
No, you cannot.
Library will close in 5 minutes. Please check out your materials now.
And
Library will close in 5 minutes.
And if you get addicted to chapstick, what do you get? Supple lips, right? You know. So all that is just like, it's the okie doke. It's 3-card Monte. It's just trying to pull wool over people's eyes, because this is about money, period. This is about the oligarchs making the money. When you're talking about people giving employees $2 billion because they had a lawsuit. So a buddy of mine, Moylan, he's the former president of the Trial Lawyers of America. We ran into each other at Fox News. He said, Livingston, look, you know, I was with the big tobacco thing. We did that, that multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. He says, now we got to hit this vaping piece. And part of my role in all this, everybody, is I'm one of those guys that's like the tip of the spear, okay? I take the hits, this, that, and the other, but we have to do some drastic things for those of you that agree with anti-legalization, because we're up against outrageous money. and outrageous propaganda. Look, I want to go down to the inauguration on the 14th and pass out free joints, man. You know what I mean? Because it's decriminalized, so what's the problem? But it's to make a point. As he was saying, if it's already decriminalized, why do you need to legalize it? You need to legalize it in order to commercialize it. And you commercialize it in order to have this high potency. High potency. And I'll end with this. You know, I was at my church. My church is on the west side of Chicago in a rough area. And so I had a camera crew. They came to interview me over there. And we were outside, and there was a street guy, right? You know, I mean, he's been addicted to stuff for a long time. You know what I mean? And so we got to talking, you know, and I've been over JB's house, and I got stories about all that. JB said, I minored in black studies. He said, Duke, Reverend. I said, get down, buddy, you know? And so, I'm sorry. And so we got into this talk about his alcoholism, the street guy. And this is to contextualize addiction. He said, I said, well, you know, JB's mother, he talks about her being an alcoholic. He said, yeah, but she was drinking top shelf. He said, I drink Fireball. I don't know if y'all know what Fireball is or Mad Dog 2020. That's I see you nod your head, brother. Amen. All right. You know, that's some rock gut cheap stuff, all right? He said, and the thing is, he said, when she passed out, the servants took her up to her room. He said, when I passed out, I woke up in Cook County Jail. But that contextualizes addiction. I was talking to some folk in Lake Forest. They didn't care about the science. They didn't want the traffic in their communities. You follow me? Because they got liquor stores in Lake Forest, just like they got liquor stores in Lawndale. But because there are socioeconomic differences, they don't hang out and sleep in front of the liquor store in Lake Forest. You go home and get laid out. Say amen, somebody. But if you ain't got nothing, and we're not here to blame or play victimology, I'm just talking about the facts. If you ain't got nothing, guess what? You're going to hang out. So I said, hey, man, so what happens if we put a dispensary next door to the liquor store? You know? So Bobo go in the liquor store and get some Fireball, and then he comes out and gets some hopped up weed. I said, how does that improve the community? God bless you.